Alright, so back on the scene. It's been a couple days since I was able to record something, and I guess the weekend came and the weekend went, and so now it's back to Monday, and we just winded down on Monday, went over to the gym, did a little workout. Lately I've been doing like a little half hour, maybe 45-minute workout, trying to get myself back into the gym. I had a little 4-month kind of layover, and trying to find myself back into the gym. It's 2024. I was talking with one of the guys that I know at the gym. He was nice enough to come over, or he wasn't too far, but I noticed him. I was just getting ready to get a little session started, so we just started talking a little bit about just like the year, start of the year, how things are going, and I mentioned to him about how I'd been out of the gym for about 4 months or so, and I was just trying to get back into it. So he was like, it was cool. He was like, yeah, it's like, it's good to see you back in the gym, trying to do your thing, because he had seen me the other day, just getting back and starting to work out again. And so it was cool. It was cool. It was a nice little Monday kind of start the week off, gym session this week. Things going on this week. You have Valentines Day on the 14th. That's 2 days from now. And I don't know, happy Valentine's Day to all those people that are celebrating it, that might have someone in their life, whether new or old, and they got a little bit of romance or a little bit of love in their life. Good for you. I don't, so that's just how it is. But it's still Valentine's Day, technically Saint Valentine's Day. I am Catholic, and so I do like to put the Saint Valentine's Day in Valentine's Day. Otherwise, it's just Valentine's Day, and I'm not really sure what Valentine's Day is without Saint Valentine. I guess some of the things I know about Saint Valentine, being that I'm going to bring up Saint Valentine, is he was a priest. I believe he was a priest. There's actually a few Saint Valentines that are recognized by the church, and so there's, I believe, different background, different stories as to how Valentine's Day came into being. But essentially, I believe that this story it goes back to the 1st century, or the early 1st, 2nd, or 3rd century. And basically what was happening was there was a persecution of Christians going on. And so if you were found to have been a Christian by the Romans, you were probably going to be persecuted, because at the time it was outlawed, it was illegal, it was seen as an upstart group within the Roman Empire. And so what would happen is that the Christians that were practicing the faith, that recognized Jesus as the Messiah and as a person that had performed miracles and had resurrected, that essentially if you were to get married and profess to be a Christian, that you were persecuted. You were not treated well within those areas of the Roman Empire. And so those people, they would die for the faith, right? Essentially, if you were found marrying as a Christian, you were seen as going against the emperor, going against Caesar. And so Valentine's Day was representative of love, and the love between a man and a woman, and then recognizing Jesus as the Messiah, and then being the Son of God. And so I believe that's the story. I believe that's kind of where the origins of Valentine's Day. And Saint Valentine was a priest, and he was a priest that was marrying Christians. So that's why it's seen as romance and love, and why Christians, Catholics, when it comes to Valentine's Day, that's what they're celebrating. Now, from the Romanesque perspective, they would say Eros, or they would say love, and they would say Cupid, and they would say kind of, I guess a springtime effect where love is blooming and all of this kind of stuff. So take it with a grain of salt, depending on where your viewpoint comes from, and whether or not you want to see love from the Christian perspective, or love from Eros, being in love with another person, and kind of believing that's the time of the spring, I guess, to be able to say now's a time of love, where the season changes, and that's Valentine's Day. That's 2 days away. I don't know how much people celebrate it throughout the world, but it is Saint Valentine's Day as far as I understand. I come from the 1900s. I was born in the 1900s, and so again, my understanding is that it's Saint Valentine's Day, not necessarily Valentine's Day. But in this country, in the U.S., they've kind of changed things to make it more inclusive, and then to make it possible for kind of people to celebrate it in a way that says, they want to be universal without being religious. And so that's kind of St. Valentine's Day. Now, it also happens that this year, two things. One, it's a leap year, and we're in the month of February, and so there's going to be an extra day at the end of the month. So instead of 28 days in February, it's going to be 29 days. So that's going to be, every 4 years they add a day to the calendar in order to account for the changes, within the calendar time. So every 4 years they add a day in the month of February, and this month is that year, so there'll be 29 days. So I guess for all those people that have their birthday on February 29th, I don't know, that's always the question, I guess, with that. What happens if you're born on February 29th and there's only 29 days on those leap years, and as opposed to those other years when it's only 28 days. So what happens? I'm not really sure. I don't know. I've never actually met anybody that was born on the 29th of February on a leap year. So I'm sure it happens, but don't ask me, because I don't think in my lifetime I've ever researched or looked into what does it mean if your birthday happens to fall on February 29th, and how do you celebrate that when there's no February 29th on those non-leap year years. So that's the one thing. The second thing is that this year Valentine's Day falls on Ash Wednesday. So with the calendar having kind of like a double down on the religious aspect, because you have St. Valentine's Day on the 14th, and that happens to coincide with Ash Wednesday, or at least that's what it coincides with on the Roman Roman Catholic calendar. I'm not sure about the Orthodox or about some of the other calendars that may be used out there in order to account for the day itself. really it's only Roman Catholics, I believe. I don't know if the Orthodox celebrate Ash Wednesday or not, or if they do, if they celebrate it, if they're celebrating it on the same day as the Roman Catholic church calendar. So, but it's Ash Wednesday. It's Ash Wednesday and St. Valentine's Day. So, I guess as a day, Catholics that are celebrating both, the day being Ash Wednesday and then celebrating St. Valentine's Day. So that's kind of romantic if you're a Catholic, I guess, right? If you happen to have a sweetheart, or if you're married and you're Catholic, and you guys go and get ashes together, and then you celebrate Valentine's Day. So that's kind of cool. That doesn't happen every year. I think it sort of happens this year, being the way that the leap year, I guess, winds up happening. Because I don't think that happens every year. I don't think Ash Wednesday falls on the 14th of February every year. What else? So this weekend they had Super Bowl Sunday that took place. There's the Kansas City Chiefs playing the 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers. I didn't watch the game. It wasn't a game that I was, highly anticipating or looking forward to watching. This year, the big thing about the Super Bowl, I don't know, it was like 52, 53, I think was the Super Bowl this year in 2024. I could be wrong on that, but I think it was either 52 or 53, something like that, up in the 50s. And where did they play? I don't even know where they played. I think I heard that it was in Los Angeles. I think for some reason that it was over in California, where they were playing it. So I didn't watch the halftime show, didn't watch anything of the game itself. Funny thing is, like, these years it's kind of weird because, like, growing up back in the 80s, 90s, like, Super Bowl was kind of a big thing for people, but back then you didn't have like all these streaming services. So Amazon, Netflix, Paramount, Disney Plus, and whatever else is going on that they have out there subscriptions wise. Now I did hear that they were playing it, I think it was NBC was the channel that they played it on, but then they also streamed it on Paramount Plus. So if you had Paramount Plus, you could watch the Super Bowl on Paramount Plus, or you could watch it on TV, regular TV. Now the thing is that, like, growing up, like, I didn't grow up rich. We didn't have, like, in our household, I mean, we had like basic cable, which is basically like all the channels, just 2 through 11, 12, whatever. And then it wasn't until like years later that actual cable became available, because like back in the 80s, like you had like a TV tube, and that tube was like a dial, and that dial was basically all the channels that you had on the dial. And that's kind of, it was 2, 4, 5, 7, channel 9, channel 11. Those were the basic channels, WPIX channel 11, Fox 5, ABC, NBC, so channel 2, channel 4. That's kind of like what we had back in the day, and it was an analog television, and then eventually it went to digital, and that required like a different cable. I think back in 2000 was when they switched over all the TVs, and you used an antenna. You had an antenna in order to get TV signal. And in 2000, I believe, is when they changed over all the TV sets, or that's when they went to this kind of flat panel TV screens, and that's when everything went digital, and you needed a digital cable in order to connect it to the television. And, that kind of changed things in the direction that we've been in since the 2000s to what it is now, which it's, changed over to streaming, Netflix, Paramount, Disney, all that stuff that now you get in the package, HBO, and, all that stuff. And then you still have like your cable setup where you could go through a Spectrum, or back in New York it was Optimum Online, and that's how you would watch, the football. And so where I'm at, like I don't even think, like, I tried watching some of the football games, and just watching the football games this season, like, just to see like the the Final Four, or the Final Six, whatever those last games of the season that determine the outcome of who goes to play in the Super Bowl. I couldn't even watch those games, because just to watch those games, I was kind of on Amazon, and I couldn't even figure out like how to watch those games because they weren't available. Because again, you need like special subscriptions, or you have to have like these cable channels. You have to pay for them in order to watch the games. You got to get DirecTV, or you have to go and watch these cable packages that'll allow you to watch any of these games, whether it's baseball, whether it's football. And it never used to be that way. Like growing up, again, like back in the 1900s, like that was all kind of like everybody could just watch those games. It was just kind of, you turn on the TV and like the ball game was on, whether it was baseball, whether it was football, whether it's basketball. And it's not like that anymore at all. It's like such a they've turned it into such an enterprise, such a kind of business exchange, that it's like you can't even really just watch the Super Bowl and enjoy it. So I don't know what the viewership, they could say that it was the most anticipated or the most watched, or because this whole thing with Taylor Swift and her influence, this year with her dating one of the players on the Kansas City Chiefs, and how like she brought in like new viewers to watch football, young girls and whatnot. Maybe that's true, but I mean, like, I'm sure they would have had to have had that cable set up in the first place. It's not like these young girls would have like, went to their mothers and fathers and said like, Mommy, Daddy, like Taylor Swift is going to be at the Super Bowl, like, can you sign up for, Paramount Plus, or can you like sign up for, one of these cable packages so that I can just watch the Super Bowl because Taylor Swift is watching, or Taylor Swift is going to be there. Maybe that's the case. I don't know the exact numbers of it. Maybe that's possible. This probably has to be a few girls. Maybe they went that far, to go and watch it. But I don't believe that large, populations of states, all these women were like, hey man, we gotta go and watch the Super Bowl because Taylor Swift is there. Not to say that she didn't have any influence. Obviously, the past several games since she's been attending them, since I guess back in November, that there's been a lot of hype. So I'm not saying that she has no influence on those games. But it turns out, what I found out this morning, because today's Monday, was that the Kansas City Chiefs won, that they beat the 49ers. I don't know what the score was. I don't know if they blew them out. I don't know if it was a good game. I don't know if they shut them out in the first half and they just never had a chance in the second half to come back. I don't know if they won by a field goal. I don't know if they threw, 5 touchdown passes. I have no idea on the numbers, on how good the game was. And the other thing is, I didn't hear anybody talking about the game today at all either. At least not in my area. Anybody that I came in contact, nobody was like, hey, did you watch the game, or did you see the Super Bowl, or that game was awesome, it was the best Super Bowl ever, or anything like that. So I didn't get any sense that the game was not what people expected, or that there was more to the game, or the halftime show at all, because that also wasn't really talked about. As far as I know, I didn't hear anything about anything stupendous, or anything that was like, whoa, oh, that was really cool, or that was amazing, or the performance of this. I think I saw Usher. For some reason, I don't know if Usher was at the Super Bowl, or if he was performing at the Super Bowl. I saw a picture of him on Alexa, and then I was like, oh, I guess he's doing the halftime show or something like that. But to be honest, I wasn't able to take a special interest in it. I don't gain any money. There's no value for me to actually watch it. And then the two teams that were playing were not like two teams that, not that I despise them. They're not my team. So I just happened not to watch it, and just fell out like early on. My Sunday was kind of like, I was tired as it was. I got through the work week, and to watch the Super Bowl, I was just like, it just seems like work, man. Um, and so it just wasn't a Super Bowl year for me. Like how it was back in 2007 when the Giants played the Patriots. Now that was a Super Bowl for me. That was Super Bowl. But we're talking about 2007 versus 2024. So regardless of Taylor Swift, like it was not a Taylor Swift Super Bowl. It was the Patriots, New England Patriots, and the New York Giants. And record will show that the New York Giants beat the New England Patriots in that Super Bowl. So that if you're gonna see a Super Bowl, if there's a Super Bowl to see, it's gonna be that Super Bowl. 2007 Super Bowl, Giants versus New England, where New England Patriots had led an undefeated season, and then they lost the Super Bowl to the New York Giants. And so, I mean, I didn't hear anything stupendous, that this Super Bowl was blowout, all other Super Bowls, other than the fact that Taylor Swift, again, the influence that she had, and good for them. Good, if her man went on, I don't know if he scored any points, or if he played in defense, or I'm not even sure what position he plays. I think he plays tight end, so I'm not sure what he was able to do or not do for the team. Um, but if his team won, he got a Super Bowl ring. Good for him. Happy for Taylor. I'm not a Taylor hater. Um, if she's doing her thing, she's doing her thing. That's good for her. I don't know her personally, so I'm not gonna sit there and say what she's into or not into. There's a lot of people out there in the celebrity world that they have their lives, they have a lot of money, and they're in with a lot of people. So hopefully she's not doing anything bad. Hopefully she's not, living, a life that's, you know, uh, is not going to be worthy of having, say, what comes with money and power. Hopefully she's enjoying her life, and she's able to see it for, pleasant things, and it's not all just about money and about fame and success and all of that. Like, hopefully she can relate to like normal everyday people, working class people that for some of us, again, we don't have that time and luxury to just sit there and watch a game the way we used to, like it was back in the 1900s, where like everybody could watch it, and it wasn't just certain states that turned it on because of where were they you know located in relation to their team. And so that's it, kind of like in a nutshell. um what else? I know there's some mention about Trump and his talking about Taylor Swift, and there was a bill that he had put in to effect that was supposed to help. So, some controversy there, some stuff. I don't know if Taylor went and blogged, or if she tweeted or X'd, whatever it is these days that they do, in order to just chime in on it and say whether or not she's endorsing Trump, or whether or not she agrees with what Trump said in his statement. Uh, I'm I'm happy that Trump is going to be on the ballot. at least from the outlook, and that he's looking good in the polls. I do like Trump. Um, and so it's one of those things that, I hope good things for him moving through the campaign season, and that he's able to, stay on the ballot, and that we get to November and that we get to have an election, and that we get to vote for, the people that we hope are going to be able to bring this country uh, back into effect and put us back on the map. Because right now, things in this country, again, I'm from the 1900s, and the way it was back in the 1900s, having lived in New York and seeing how things were back then, to where they've gone, over these past couple years and through the past 2 decades, it's changed tremendously. It's changed tremendously. That's part of why I'm doing this now. Uh, I tend to be a private person and not really talk much about things, but as of lately, I feel like it's been long enough for me to have, sat on my thoughts and to be able to talk now and just, speak about different things. And so, that's just what's going on, uh, as of late today, um, with the way that I've seen, the weekend come and go, and then Monday start up. And so, hopefully, good things do the rest of this week for whoever's listening to this. And then hopefully I'll get to do some more videos, some more uh, radio broadcast kind of things, because I'm not really doing video right now. I'm just kind of doing talks, just trying to get myself to be able to talk about different topics and just put myself out there, just so that I have something to kind of show, and for me to be able to listen to as well. I want to be able to hear my thoughts, and hopefully at some point maybe people start listening to the different things that I'm talking about, and then they can comment or maybe even subscribe at some point at a later date, because right now there's not really much content on the channel. And so it's just going to be me talking about different things right now for the meanwhile, and then hopefully it'll get more uh, consistent, and then have more direction with the content and whatnot. And so, if anything, I wish everybody a good rest of the week, and happy Valentine's Day. And for those celebrating Ash Wednesday that make it out to church, good for you. I hope you have a good Ash Wednesday, good St. Valentine's Day. And to those guys that their team won in the Super Bowl, good for you guys. Kansas City Chiefs, congratulations. San Francisco 49ers, I don't know how bad it was for you guys. I don't know if there was bad calls. I don't know if there was good calls. I don't know what affected the outcome of the game. I'm not really sure, because, again, I didn't watch the game. So for the 49ers to have made it into the Super Bowl, that should be kudos enough, hopefully. For you, as a kind of like, when was the last time the 49ers made it into the Super Bowl? It's got to be a few years. So I know that wasn't last year or the year before, as far as I can recall. But so, for the 49ers to be there and still in effect, and Joe Montana, even Joe Montana had come out and started talking. So to hear Joe Montana is still around and he's talking about the 49ers, and he showed up, so good for Joe Montana. That's all-time great right there. Quarterback for the 49ers, going back, again, I'm from the 1900s, so to hear the 49ers, I'm thinking John Madden, and Joe Madden football, which is, I think, still in effect in video games. So to hear that Joe Montana is still around and still talking and still involved with football, good for him. I'm sure he would have been a lot happier if the 49ers had won. But again, take it for what it's worth. There's always next year. I don't know how their season's going to look for next year. But congratulations to both teams. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'll leave it at that. Have a good night, good morning, a good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and enjoy the rest of your week.